Brent, how's it going?
It's going great. Good morning. Happy Friday. Is that what it is today?
Happy Friday. Thanks
Wow.
for putting up with my lag yesterday. I was a little slow.
Well, you should have had more coffee.
I should have had more coffee.
I
Yeah.
mean, the internet connection at the hotel should have had more coffee. It
Yeah.
was,
Well, actually, so I don't connect to hotel Wi-Fi. I just stay on my hotspot. And I think what I'm realizing is I might have to just give up that restriction when we're live in the morning, just so I've got a little bit more juice moving through the
you need
system.
you need a little bit more oomph in your data transfer rates there, fella.
Need more power.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Mm-hmm. There you go. All right.
That's
What yeah.
So yeah, hey, good morning, everybody. We'll just wait here until Wendy and Craig and was it James or no, David joined us yesterday for the first time, which was kind of fun to have a new name dropped into the chat.
We had a new name
And
in.
Iqbal too was here as well.
Yep.
So that was fun. It's always good to see the chat room start to grow and to see people start to want to engage with us.
Yeah.
Um, You know what I was thinking to do today, and unless you had something else to do, well, we could probably do both because this could be short. But I thought today might be a good opportunity to kind of, I don't know, maybe not necessarily reintroduce ourselves, but just kind of explain the differences of where you and I are coming from. The reason why we do this and why at least now you may have had a totally different reason, but why I thought we would be good together hosting a live stream and talking about stuff is that we both are in L&D, but in different ways, from a different angle, from a different perspective, and the work that you're doing is different than the work that I do. So when we're having these conversations, we're typically both thinking about it from a unique perspective, or maybe a better way to put it is through a different lens, as we're talking about these topics, which is why I kind of thought it was important to clarify yesterday to make sure you and I were both on the same page on the topic we were discussing. But I don't know. What do you think?
That works for me. I'm the my brain's going a little bit slower today than usual. I'm almost like that internet connection from from yesterday. I think it's good. I think I my one of my bigger challenges, just historically, and I share this just because I think I'm not alone when it comes to it, is talking about myself.
I think we all kind of struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of going back and being like, oh, okay, yeah, these are some of the things, and over time you anyway, so I struggle with it, so I don't even think about it. So I'm happy that but at the same time, I think the context would be helpful. I'm going to need to follow your lead on it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's cool. I mean, I maybe just to, um, so, um, most people these days, I don't think, recognize me or know me. There was a time 20 years ago, where most people in the L&D industry, or at least the people you see the regular names and whatnot,
Yeah.
knew my name and recognized my face. And I don't say that from I don't know, from the perspective of ego or anything like that. It was just because of the roles I put myself in
Mm.
that presented. I pushed my thoughts and ideas out on a blog in the early days. I worked for the e-learning guild in the early days of the guild, and producing DevLearn, and then most recently doing Idiotic. Maybe people recognize me from that, but I've been in the industry a long time, and I've held just about every role that there possibly is. I've been on all sides of the fence. I've been on the vendor side. I've been on the professional association side, the event side. I've been an instructional designer like everybody else. I went and got a master's degree in educational technology, did 10 years at Intel, jumping around between different organizations to see and to learn how um, corporate training functioned in each of those different roles, from IT to manufacturing to Intel University to planning and logistics and all that kind of stuff. So I have a deep um, a, a deep understanding of what everybody in our industry struggles with and where they come from. You come at it from the sales side, so you were in L&D, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in selling the products, and kind of started off there and started seeing the industry and the lunacy of it from from the vendor side, and and learning and figuring that stuff out. And so you started off sales, and then figured out what people really need is to figure out how to simplify their life, simplify their work, and to just get stuff done. And that there is a process that works, and you've defined a very clear process for getting stuff done. And all of that stuff applies also to the things that we do in L&D, and everybody in our industry and outside of our industry can use those skills to be successful. Did I kind of sum that up okay?
Yeah, the thing I would add, because that's how I got into the in kind of the learning space professionally. Um, Before that, though, I was at UPS on the operations side of things, and there was some training component to what I would do when we would bring on new people into the team,
Okay.
and so the a lot of that type of training though was really driven by safety type stuff. So you got to be really careful when you're around really heavy equipment that doesn't stop as quickly as somebody would want it to stop. Like, and requires some reaction type stuff. So and we're talking about like air operations, so being around large airplanes. um and and then before that, being around a belt system that moves a lot of equipment from one place to another, and or a lot of stuff from one place to another, a lot of packages. So operations stuff, um personal training. So on the fitness side, helping people be better at the thing that they want to be better at. And the connection for me in this space is, although I'm not a people person, and people may get frustrated with how I people with people, I do deeply care about how people perform. Like how do we move through that performance piece? And I found a company that happened to be kind of, before we knew each other, but in our backyard, which is a company called Smart Force back in 2000. And I hit them up with a number of resumes because they were doing this really cool thing that brought together learning, training, and technology all in the same kind of space. And I had no idea that companies like that existed, and
Yeah.
found one. And at the same time, there were some other interesting companies that were also out in the valley. I mean, that was back. NetG was had a presence
Yeah.
out here. So if you go way, way back, so we're talking Smart Force NetG days.
90s. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people today won't remember those companies,
Yeah.
but a lot of the people you work with inside the companies that are really active in this space today are planted their or earned kind of earned their wings, or planted their roots way, way back in that space and in that part. So I'm not classically trained in learning or learning and development. but I am deeply interested in human performance. And how do we help people do the things they want to do better and faster, whether using systems. So that's the combination of process and tools, or skills, their capability, or coaching and collaboration. So that's the foundational stuff. And then the after moving out of operations, got into customer success. Before it was customer success, and then sales. And so my history in this space has been more working with people, helping them do the things that they're doing, uh, and getting those products out to market.
So yeah, and I think hopefully, I mean, not everybody that ever watches what we do are going to go back and actually hit this particular
Mm,
segment, but what I'm hoping is the
yeah.
translation, the the transcript will get this and give us a little clip or something that we can share, because I think people might just wonder, when we're talking about things and we go to the whiteboard, right? And we talk about, who's in the room, you know, what's the outcome, when does it need to get done. I'm getting prompted by what's on your whiteboard behind you.
Oh yeah.
uh
There's always something. Ideally, that whiteboard never stays the same.
well, yeah, it absolutely should. But anyways, I just thought it was important to just at least talk about that a little bit, just to give folks an understanding of where we're at and where we're coming from. I kind of feel like as AI starts to become a more prominent part of what um, is getting done and how it's getting done in L&D and AI, is that our whole industry is needing to move more towards what you do and that whole performance side of it. And yes, I've always said training is an event, learning is a process, technology supports them both, and performance improvement is our ultimate goal. And I think in our minds, all of us that work in the industry think that way to some extent. We're all leaning more towards performance these days, but it's hard to get an entire industry to agree with that. And not only that, it's hard to get buy-in from the people we work for, the business leaders, to know that that's what we're trying to go for, when they're so used to just saying, hey, build us a course, we need a course in XYZ, as opposed to, hey, you know what, can we partner with you L&D people and see if you can help us figure out how to solve this problem, but why people aren't performing to the ultimate level, or why we're not getting the efficiencies, or why we're not getting the performance we need out of the people in this particular area, that kind of thing. But I think we're being forced to that higher level of thinking and that higher level of partnership because of the whole AI thing. So we don't have to go too much further on that. Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Craig. Thank you for dropping in. Craig's got some interesting questions. Boy, his brain's been spinning since we talked yesterday. Do any of his questions pop out to you, Craig? I mean, Mike?
Smart and savvy.
When I think of smart and savvy, I think of the difference between like having knowledge versus having wisdom.
Mm, yeah.
Like you may have a lot of experience. Maybe you're not considered academically smart, right? Maybe you didn't get a super high score on your GRE or your SATs or whatever, but you've had a crap ton of experience with Excel, and you like have built the weirdest things in Excel solving problems for people. And so I would say you have some savvy at tech stuff, and specifically Excel or something like that, right? Smart would just maybe just I think when I think of smart, I think of academics. That's all.
Uh, I think part of it is like, what do you need right now? Like, what's the thing that you need right now? Do you
Do you
need?
need to be smart, or do you need smarts, or do you need savvy? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, just like in the specific context based on the thing that you're doing inside the business. Like if you're there are going to be instances where it may not matter what your experience is. The lack of base intelligence around a specific area, it's going to be really hard to be
Mm,
effective. Meaning,
yeah.
Like, you may know how to build things, like, you just are a builder, you figure things out, but you've never had to go to space. And in space, you might be able to create this power to rate ratio that gets something out of the atmosphere and into this area, but because you had no experience about what happens in space and what's happening in that area, you forget that uh, that having some kind of an airlock is important. And all of a sudden, everybody gets up there, and you realize, ooh, something's gone horribly wrong.
Something's horrible.
Yeah, that might be too extreme of a situation, but yeah, I think the hard part is, like, what do we need right now? Like, the smartest person in the room in a in a in an area when someone is, like, bleeding out, or there's all kinds of chaos all over the place, could actually hurt you. The person with savvy is likely the person that you need in that crisis or chaotic situation. So it's a weird balance. Like, what's the situation that we're what's the situation? What's the application?
Yeah.
So I think there definitely are nuances, and there's benefits of both. The the question I'd ask is, what's fit to purpose right now?
What's required? Yeah. I think that even helps answer, do I want a smart person on my team or a savvy person on my team? Um, I don't know. I mean, Craig, stop asking smart questions. You're straining our brains today. I'm just kidding. Um, I mean, uh, I think a lot of folks that are smart are very savvy in specific areas,
Yeah.
and I think you, but I think you can be savvy and smart at the same time. But I don't think you need to be in the traditional sense of what the word smart might mean in order to be savvy. I remember seeing a show once. Maybe I would trade savvy for skilled also. I'm just thinking of this. I can't even remember what TV show it was, but it might even have been a special or something like that. But there was a guy in this small town who was, I don't know if you'd call him autistic or whatever, just quiet guy. Just worked construction, worked with wood, was just very skilled at working with wood, and obviously he's on like a construction crew or something like that. Everybody's harassing him, the other guys, being guys, just giving him crap. And then one of the guys that actually knows him and knows his savvy and the skills that this guy has, a machine broke or something like that, and they had to get a beam carved or something like that. And they said, this guy can get it done. We don't need that. We don't need that machine. So everybody started taking bets on it. And he just asked this guy to do it, and he just said yes sir, and went and just all by hand just created this gorgeous beam, and ended up making a boatload of money. Obviously the very sensitive, emotional, love interest takes an interest in him, and I don't know, somehow she gets to his where he lives, like in this top level of this barn, and the camera like follows her up the steps and goes up there, and when you get into the space, it's this like epic wood, the ceiling, the floors, the furniture, all like beautifully crafted, and just all this stuff of him using his savvy. I don't know. When I think of stuff like that, I think of stories like that, where maybe you don't, by society standards or by tradition, you don't have the book smarts, but you can have significant skills and savvy. I think you have to have some savvy in order to apply those skills, right? And in order to think through how I'm going to make these skills build this thing. So, sorry, long story, but
I think
it tears at the
so.
heartstrings.
Yeah, it's and as when you go into these situations, it gets into, hey, there's a need for, based on scope, and there's a benefit to having a healthy balance of both. And and let's say you've got a room of like really, really, really smart people who are absolutely certain that something will not work because they're super smart. and
How many
and
of us have been in that room before?
yeah, and and then all of a sudden you're focused more on debate than actually getting things done, and then somebody just walks in the room and does something a little bit different, like they move the chair, or they or they shift the perspective, or they turn the light switch on. Like uh, there's yeah, there's just I think the cool part about the question, at least from my perspective, the cool part about the question is it highlights the importance of balance and having a bit of both. And if you over index on one side or the other, you're going to end up potentially hurting yourself and reducing the long-term impact that you have on the thing that you're working toward. And to give Craig a little bit of credit, yeah, uh, it was actually a savvy question.
Hey, Craig, in 50 words or less in the chat, what what triggered that? I mean, I think you mentioned it in your first message, that because of all of the talk yesterday, the business acumen talk and moral necessity talk, is kind of how that question came up. How does our talk about the necessity of L&D's morality, it being a moral issue, not that I want to talk about it, but how did that play into you coming up with the questions? And then we'll get to the news.
There we go. What?
4 minutes later, because now
Yeah,
Craig will
there's
have to
gonna be a
listen.
little bit of a delay. So one of the let's kind of lay out something that we're going to start doing. I think so. We're balancing a lot of stuff, right? Like this isn't our day. This isn't the only thing we do, right? Right? Like you don't spend the entire day preparing for
No,
this show for tomorrow for well you get a couple of days off, and then Sunday you start preparing for Monday's show. Like
no,
this
no.
is
This is the brilliance of live streaming, is that it's all serendipitous. And for those people that don't appreciate the serendipity of a spontaneous but consistent live stream, you're missing out.
but at the same time, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to start to promote the Friday show
Yes.
and see what we can do to help leverage some of the tools that are out there, like LinkedIn events, to invite people in our network to this event, and this thing. And so there will be a bit more structure on Fridays as far as seeing the scheduled event out there and being able to invite folks and then share it with others. So this is something that will roll out here over the next couple of weeks. The other thing that we're doing, and I'm also just taking up time to catch up for the chat, but the other thing that we're also going to do is continue to test different technology. Like right now, we're using, and there's Craig's response. Right now, we're using Restream to get this out there. We've talked about Crowdcast. We've talked about some other tools so that we can help with this, reduce the lag between when someone says something and then the signal gets all the way up to gets up to the system.
Yep.
So, all right, we've got Craig's response. I threw it up in the video feed.
Yep. I kept hearing the words, and someone close to me is picking a team to use on a contract. Yes, it is specific and you may want skills, but that question came out of you guys talking about moral fortitude, and the words business acumen gets thrown around a lot. Do you want someone who is smart and can adapt, or someone set in a groove that is savvy and can figure things out, maybe in an unconventional way? Again, I think to Mike's point, I mean, if we had to go shift into solution mode, I would say it totally depends on what it is you're trying to do, who's currently on the team, and what's the level of risk involved, right? Because normally figure things out, quote unquote, has a level of risk, a higher level of risk involved, and most businesses are not um, attuned or receptive to high levels of risk. So trying and failing, trying and failing, trying and failing is a excellent example of figuring things out. But some people are not dialed in to that way of figuring things out. They only want it to be a perfect linear. Here's the thing we need to get done. Let's plan it. We know what the goal is. We're all smart. We know we've done this before. We build a plan, and the plan always goes according to design. And we get the project done, and we get paid, and we're out. So yeah,
The bigger challenge is when you don't make the choice. You don't decide. Like, you just get stuck with this whole thing of like, no, just keep going. I mean, and just keep going is okay. It's the lack of decision, the lack of clarity, which gets into that piece around business acumen. The lack of decision, the lack of clarity, pardon me, creates confusion. And along with that confusion, it starts to slow things down. And then people start progressing in different ways, shapes, or forms. And when that happens, when people start progressing in different ways, shapes, and forms, and it isn't documented, and they don't take the space to kind of reflect it back, you run into this thing that Wendy brings up, which is hiring contractors. The business may not have time, time for them to learn. And it works on both sides. Like, when the contractor comes in and does all of the things and doesn't really share the process that was the steps that were used to help put things together in a way that's readable as things go along, then you get yourself into a situation where you have to relearn those things somewhere down the road. And it's like, well, how did we get here? Why did this thing happen, or whatever? Or the one that I love is well, that was a really stupid decision. Well, given the information that you had at the time in place, it may have actually been the best decision to make at that point in time, because you're either running out of cash, you're running out of resources, or there's there's a level of urgency that has been brought to the situation, meaning everybody is only going to be in the room for that 20-minute period of time. So you're going to have to work with the information that you have at that piece. And the fastest way to build business acumen for me, and the biggest mistake I see people continue to make, is folks want to share what's in their head rather than ask questions. They want to share a perspective rather than ask questions. And if we could help people ask more questions, then
I'm trying to get better at that. I'm guilty of the not asking enough questions.
we get super excited. Like, what's the and I'm pulling Wendy's comments up here, knowing again, Wendy, that there's this fog of communication, like this thick thing that everything has to go through before it makes its way through. But spend so much time with contractors, setting them up, and doing this for people who are listening to the audio for the good. But people don't realize what's needed a lot of times. Yeah. Yep. And
So I've worked on contracts that had a tight deadline. It was the reason why we got the contract was because we said, yeah, we can totally get that done in that completely unreasonable amount of time that all of the other vendors said that it wasn't possible. We can absolutely do it. And originally, I was going to hire, I don't know, 3 or 4 developers to help me out. I ended up just paying one and doing all the work myself, all the rest of the work myself. So I only had to spin up one person that I trusted and that I knew really, really, really well that could handle it. And he and I just had a whole bunch of late nights.
Bless you.
Getting the project done. It was a huge project, but a lot of it was just copy pasting, coding work, testing, make sure it works good, move on to the next one, stuff like that. So it was just a time thing, and we figured we had enough time to do it, so we just did it. But you're right. Yeah, the time it takes to spin up new vendors, that was what I was weighing out in my head. Listen, for me to go find 2 more people to help with this project, to teach them about what it is the project is, to give them all the access to the right tools, all that kind of stuff. I just thought that alone is going to run up against the deadline. So we just buckled down and cranked it out. Okay, to the news.
To the news.
Friday, December 12th, 2025. Key highlights from the week in L&D. So, is anybody noticing a trend? Top stories. Subsense raises $27 million for non-surgical brain-computer interfaces. Non-surgical in a major development for the future of learning science. Subsense secured an additional $10 million in funding today. So I'm not why is this a major development for the future of learning? Okay, we'll get back to it. We'll dig in later. Let's just scroll through and see what we got. Instructure, everybody knows what Canvas is and what the company Instructure, they launch Ignite AI. It is for those of you who maybe don't know, it is the LMS that dethroned Blackboard from all of the universities as pretty much the LMS of record for most academic institutions these days. Atana, named hot vendor in learning. Oh, that's funny. I actually got introduced to them at DevLearn. I'll come back to that. Very, very interesting story and route that they've taken, and a bit of a pivot in their product set and what they're doing. See, industry trends and reports. The L&D credibility gap. I think we've talked about that a gajillion times. Retention versus workload paradox. Trending training topics for 2025. Now, it's interesting. These are the stupid things that I think about. Gemini now has made a distinction between learning and development and training. So we've got trending topics in learning and development, higher level, big picture industry stuff. And now it's making a distinction that, hey, there are training topics that are trending specific to the word training. So, I mean, I'll personally dig deeper in that for no apparent reason other than it's just something that is interesting to me, only because the semantics of L&D has always haunted me. AI and automation skills, cybersecurity awareness, leadership, and emotional intelligence, or EQ. As AI takes over technical tasks, human skills are becoming the premium asset. Yes, I have a gajillion comments around that as well. Global and government. Nigeria's digital workforce push. President Bola Ahmad Tinubu spoke today at the 3 Million Tech Talent Summit. emphasizing a massive government push to build a digital workforce to power the economy, highlighting a global trend of state sponsored upskilling initiatives to close the technical skills gap. All right. I mentioned a few that jumped out at me. You don't have to pick those. Which ones jumped out at you, Sir Mike?
I think I still get into this whole piece around the skills, like how certain skills are going to get prioritized right now. Like this, human skills are becoming the premium asset is super interesting to me. It's like, yeah, at one point did the human skills stop becoming a premium asset?
Well, okay. I we laugh because we do talk about it, but legit, let's think about this, right? Like it's from a white collar perspective and from the worlds that you and I have lived in and worked in. Um, and management leadership training, management leadership workshops, helping leaders to lead better and whatnot. Um, that's where the chuckle comes from. But we have to remember too that for decades, humans were just an asset. They're a cost center and an asset, just like the hammers that you have to buy for all of those assets to use in the job, for the trucks that you need, or the machinery for the factory and stuff like that. The people that are in there from the executive perspective are just they're just cogs in the machine. And so, and I'm super overgeneralizing, but in a lot of cases, I don't think I'm stretching the truth too much, because in a lot of situations, let's say call centers, for example, that have a lot of turnover, it's like, we don't need you to have a lot of emotional intelligence. We just need you to read this script when somebody calls in and has a problem. They're going to ask a particular question. You're going to put that into the little search box. It's going to tell you exactly what to say, and you're going to read it verbatim. And that's all we need you to do. And so there's a boatload of turnover. They've figured out how to train them super fast to get it done. Somebody leaves, boom, somebody else plugs into the spot. It's like, it's just a machine. You just turn it's just the capital happens to be human capital, but it is a machine, and you just plug a new body in, and the work just gets done.
It's almost like looking at it as human resources.
Yeah, almost. It is almost like that. Yeah.
It took a
But I
little
mean,
bit of a
I guess that's what I'm
snap, but
getting
there
at
you
with
go.
that, right?
But we get it's so back in the. Do you remember what human resources was called before it became human resources?
Oh no, I thought it was always human resources.
Another, and I mean, there's still some industries that'll use this language, but personnel.
Oh yeah, go to the personnel.
You remember that? Like, there you go. Back in the day, and then, uh, and then,
That's right.
what are some of the new age companies calling human resources these days?
Oh yeah, there is a word for it.
It's people. You've got a chief people officer.
Oh, the chief, yes, the people officer, the
Uh,
people manager, the
yeah,
people. Yeah.
we're
Okay.
peopling. So, like, we keep coming up with these new words, and then we go back through the merry-go-round of oh, what's old is new again. And
Yeah.
we say, hey, the people are important, the personnel are important, they take things personally. They are a resource, like they're a limited resource. You've got a
Yeah.
limited amount of time that you have access to these resources, so how do you use them efficiently? How do you help them figure out areas in ways, shapes, or form, because they have the ability to think critically and think creatively, so that they can kind of make decisions in the field and optimize for the way that they work, so they're not constantly having to come back and say, um, uh, Mr. Schlenker, the person on the other end asked a question that didn't pop up in my FAQs, so I didn't know what script to go to. So I kind of had a glitch.
I had to escalate.
Yeah.
That's how it is. Then no, that's when you get the, "Can you please hold for 1 minute?"
And so it's
It's
just I think it's cool, and this kind of gets into some of the stuff we were talking about I think yesterday. But one of the questions was around, hey, what are some of the trends that you're starting to identify or see these themes, these recurring themes?
and this is when these and all 3 of these are ones that I've talked about in the past that I see as big trending topics for us. So people, AI readiness, they need, we all need to figure out how to utilize these new tools. And automation's been around forever, but the tools to automate the work that you do are getting easier and easier to do. You don't have to hand code an HTML 1.0 page in text editor like we used to have to do. You just ask AI, build me a landing page that does XYZ. Oh, boom, you got one. Right. So, but I mean, that's a little bit oversimplification, despite the fact that it works. But, figuring out your job and how to automate those skills. I mean, for those people that are out there right now, let's just say you've got an entry level job or something like that. If you haven't gone into an AI yet and said, here are all of the things that I'm expected to do in my job, this is the name of the role. How would you, what's the best way for me to automate my job? You're missing out because you will get so much great feedback, and you can ask questions of the feedback. If something comes back and it doesn't make any sense, or it says, oh, you need to set this thing up or buy this tool, if you don't know how to do it or whatever, just say, oh, that's great, okay, I bought it, now how do I set it up? And it'll tell you, and it answers your questions for you and gets you pretty close to it. A lot of times it's frustrating, and I'd much rather reach out to a friend that I know knows how to do whatever it is I'm trying to do. Um, but I get as far as I can using the AI first because it'll take you a long ways. But yeah, so you got the AI and automation skills, absolutely hot topic. Everyone's trying to move in that way. Um, Cybersecurity awareness, I don't think it's caught on quite as strongly yet, but I think as we start to see more and more breaches and more issues and people talking about it, building that human firewall is going to become more and more important. But I think the reason why it hasn't popped up for us just yet is that I think the solution for a lot of companies is, well, let's just get rid of the humans. If they're the problem, if their behavior is the problem, then let's just figure out how we can eliminate the problem instead of train the problem. So there's that. And then the leadership and the EQ stuff has always been an issue.
We get into pardon me, we get into these bubbles, our own little bubbles, our own little echo chamber, and we say things like, "Hey, with the awareness piece that I work with a company, CyberSafe, and it's the only client that I've had over the years of operating in Catalyst that is on my LinkedIn profile, because I sunset the business for a year after helping the company go through the A round and then be get prepared and move toward the B round. And so I was the full time chief revenue officer inside the organization. And one of the cool parts about being a part of then what we were talking about is the 8th layer of security, focusing on human factor risk. You pull in all of the different components. It's like this convergence of perfect fit for me, convergence of leveraging emerging technology to enable humans to do better human things. So behavior in the context of security, simple stuff that there are simple mistakes that we make as humans that create huge security risk, whether we're talking about physical security or um, non-physical security. Like think about how many times you are like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and leave my car running while I run into the store to go grab something. Or like if anybody who's ever done like back in the day, you actually had to turn a key on to start the car. You didn't just push the button and you could lock it and leave the car running and all of that kind of stuff. You had to
And there was a
turn the key on.
button on the door that you actually had to push down and then hold up the handle and then shut the door all at the same time.
And there was a time and place when the key to start the car was actually different than the key to enter the car. Like there, like this, you get just different keys that you could use, and it was actually a cool thing. Like you knew someone's power in an organization if they had this giant key ring, and like they were like the key master, and they would try to find the gatekeeper, and if you could get the gatekeeper and the key master together in the right time and place and not cross the streams, things could potentially be good. But like there's the there are these things that are happening out there that if you ask yourself the question, hey, who is applying this in this context, you actually realize, there are a lot of people that are doing this in this area that maybe I can actually go in and work in an area that's different than what I've worked in before. Meaning, if I'm super interested in cybersecurity, because I just like the idea of security, or I even had somebody in my family who was the victim of an attack. Like they got one of those phone calls that we were talking about before, or they ended up clicking on that email, or they did the thing. And then you decide, yeah, Craig, man, you guys are old. Yeah. Thank you, Craig. It's part of our charm. It's part of our charm. But there's the point, as I kind of ramble on here, is if there's something that catches your interest, whatever that is, it could be Jeeps, it could be security, it could be golf, it could be building amazing wood structures in a room because that's just how you let your mind go. We are in an age where you can find an opportunity to go work in that space, either as someone who's operating with a manufacturer who creates equipment that supports that space, or technology that supports that space, or working with the people who actually work inside those organizations, or working with the people that they serve. The key part about it is asking this question. It's a very simple question to say out loud, but it's very hard to answer. What do I want? What do I want? Just start there, and then get into like, why do you want it? And then you can get into how can you get it? Like those three questions. What do I want? Why do I want it? How can I get it? And some of the background on that is Stan Oleski as 7 questions from a method actor perspective. If you really want to go deep into where some of those simple questions come from, Pressfield talks about it in War of Art as well. But like, what do I want? Why do I want it? How can I go get it? Ask those questions, and you'd be shocked at the amazing opportunities that are out there. And here's the cool part about what you can do with these AI tools is you can go in and ask those questions in an environment where the tool is not going to judge you. If you ask that question at the dinner table, not during Thanksgiving because we're already past that, but Christmas dinner table,
Christmas.
and you're like, you know what? I'm just trying to figure out, like, what do I want? If there's going to be someone in your family who might have had a little bit too much to drink and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? How come you don't know? Like, man, you guys are old. How do you not know what you want?
Yeah.
Rant.
I don't, you know what? That is the hardest, you're right. It's the dang hardest question in the whole entire world to answer. And it frustrates the hell out of me when I'm talking with a mentor or a coach and I have to answer it because I have no freaking idea. And then it's like, and then I come up with an answer and it's like, no, that's not what I mean.
Which is okay.
I mean, what do you really want? I want a job. No, that's not what I mean. What is it that you really, really want to do? What is it, and it's just like, oh shit, just give me the fucking answer and let's move on.
How many times have we had that conversation? Have we ever had a conversation like that?
Oh yeah, we've had a couple. Yeah.
And it's okay. Like, so that's the piece about finding friends that you can do stuff like this with and go back and forth and enjoy and look forward to hanging out for it was supposed to be 30 minutes and then turned into 45 minutes and is dangerously creeping
That just keeps
each day
creeping up.
today.
So before we run out of time, I just wanted to just quickly highlight what Wendy just popped out. That I have spent the last half year determining what AI to turn on for our tech stack, creating measurements and new workflows. I'm assuming that's probably Copilot. And I'm not like, what do you mean? And I don't want us to get too much longer into this or whatever, but maybe we can come back tomorrow and talk more specifically about it. But what do you mean by just turning on, um, like pointing it to different data sets? Like, what are you going to allow it to have access to, or the AI features, and which people you're going to turn those features on for? Questions like that, or I'm not 100% clear on, but that's okay. Hold that thought. We should probably just wrap it up for
Yeah.
today.
Can we, so Wendy, Brent jumped ahead. We're not on tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we should do this Monday.
We could do a case of the Mondays. But would be really cool, Wendy, if you could do this, send this to us in the background and just to give that additional context, and that'll help help
That'll help
guide
trigger
us.
and
And then
focus
Craig,
us
if
for
you
Monday.
could send us a text message or Slack at some point in time, like either, probably Monday morning, right about 7:55 your time, or maybe thereabouts, and just say, hey, as a reminder, here's the thing you said you guys were going to do. Remember, don't forget Wendy. Wendy stuff. So Wendy, you help us. Craig, you help us, and we will all get better together. Brent,
Awesome.
what are you working on? What are you working on that's excited, that you're excited about?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh,
This is an opportunity for the plug for next week's thing.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I was going to go, but I'm trying to keep it short. Yeah.
So keep it short.
If anybody has a whole bunch of folks, or not even a whole bunch, but if you or somebody you know is relatively new to the L&D industry and they're working hard and they're an instructional designer or something like that, but they don't really have a full grasp or a full understanding of the industry as a whole, how it functions, who the players are. If you're in sales, if you're selling something, I have the perfect workshop for you that I am working on and doing a pilot next Thursday, and would love for you to join me and help spin up you and or your team on kind of the history of instructional design, why we're at where we're at, history of the technology, why is the technology at where it's at, what are the terms mean, the semantics, the crazy acronyms, all of the nuttiness that goes along with being in L&D. I think most people in our industry could be a lot more successful if they just took some time to learn a little bit about the industry as a whole and how it functions. So I can help you do that. Mike, where can people find you?
Go work with Brent on that, like that, from an experience and expertise perspective and a language standpoint, which is going to ultimately help with communication. There's going to be no better place than to spend some time on Thursday and kind of work through this and see how the sausage is made in that process. You can find
We're
your
going to cover
catalyst.
50 years of L&D in 4 hours. It's going to be awesome.
The reason I shake my head is because we could have a lot of fun with that. And I actually, and maybe I'll share a story about what's happened. Is my sister has found LinkedIn, which is hilarious to watch. It is absolutely hilarious to watch, and it's a good reminder that there are certain people. As much as we get caught up in this echo chamber and we think everybody's paying attention to all of these things, the reality is, no, they're not. And
No.
at some point in time, they will. And then at that point in time, let's kind of put a hand out there and help pull them up. You do not want to be in the text string between my sister, my son, and Jen. So Sean, Jen, and I'm not going to name her name, are in a text string, and yeah, it's interesting stuff. So I'm rambling. You can find your catalyst at findmycatalyst.com if you want to work with someone who will ask you the questions to help you think different about what you're doing, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. You know a guy. I'm Mike Simmons. I am that guy. And
Mike's
Brent, I
that
will
guy.
see you next
We'll see you on Monday.
Monday.
Adios,
Awesome.
everybody.
Hey, thanks everybody for being here. Wendy, Craig, thanks as always. Awesome to see you. Wendy, send that stuff over to us and we will have an amazing conversation on Monday.
Yeah.